Hey everyone, it's Carrie from Carrie's Wreath Creations. Happy Friday, everybody. Give people a few moments to join us. Today, we are going to be working on a daisy. We have some white petals that I've already, I pre-made some of them. And we're going to be using a center that I have already made. And we're going to be working on a small Unique in the Creek board. So we're going to give people a few moments to join us, but I'll just start by just chatting through some of the supplies that we're going to be using for this particular project. So we are going to be working with white 10 by 10 poly burlap. Yes, for the stream, Brandon. Thanks for joining. Hi, Linda. So yes, white poly burlap cut into 10 by 10 squares. I did use a wood burning tool. I believe we're going to end up using 24 petals. And I'm also going to be using a I pre-made the center. This is a center that I made. If you check out my YouTube, it's made out of yellow felt. And I do have a tutorial on how I made this on my YouTube channel. Hello, everyone. So we're going to use this because I've had it and I haven't used it yet. And we're making a daisy and the center of the daisy should be yellow. So we're going to use that. And then I also have, I have some pieces of green cut because I think I'm actually going to add some leaves to this flower. I'm not big on leaves for whatever reason. I generally don't put them on too many of my flowers, but I think we will add some to this daisy to give it some color since it is a white flower. Hello, Kathy. Hi, everybody. So I think we're going to actually do some leaves. I might regret it, but we'll see how this goes. So I am going to be doing a little bit of a different style petal that I haven't shown on any of my lives before, but it certainly is not anything that I have made up myself. I pretty much, like I think all of us, I've learned by watching other people. So we're going to be doing a petal that looks like this. I'm sure it has a name, but I don't know what it is. I want to say it's maybe a Gerber daisy petal. I'm not sure. I know I got this from watching Lori from Unique in the Creek. Okay. So we're going to do this style petal. I have a bunch pre-made. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Looks like people are starting to find us. Okay, so I already have my small Unique in the Creek board preloaded, okay? When you get the board, it does not have the zip ties already in. You do have to add those, okay? I'm using 6-inch zip ties. And on the Unique in the Creek board, this is an authentic Unique in the Creek board, okay? It has the logo on the back, has holes in all the right places. This is a small board. If you're looking to purchase these boards, you can check out the pinned post on my Facebook page, which has an affiliate link where you can go purchase the boards. There's some other places that carry them as well, but this is not a board this is not the Dollar Tree board. That's something totally different that you will not see me use. So we are going to be working, as far as our petals, we're going to be putting them on rows 2, 3, and 4. So row 2, we're going to be working at all the paired holes. So that's 8 total holes. Row 3, we're going to work on each pair of holes. So that's another 8. And then on row 4, we're going to be doing, there's 4 sets of paired holes. And then we're going to be using the shared holes in between as well. Hello to the bachelor party that is watching me. That would be my husband and his friends who have decided to troll me. Thanks. So just taking a look at the back, this is what it looks like on the back. So you can see I have zip ties, whoops, in all the center holes, okay, around the center, and then the paired ones on the outside. Okay, so let's talk about how we are going to put in or how we're going to fold our petals. So we have our 10 by 10 poly burlap, okay. I did cut this with a wood burning tool, okay? And what we're gonna do is, so it's 10 by 10, we're gonna have it curl side up. We have our factory edges and our cut edges. For this particular petal, if you look up close, we do a lot of folding, so you don't actually see too much of the cut edge except for sort of right here. So I do definitely recommend cutting with the wood burning tool. I always do that off camera because I do it in my garage, so it's well ventilated, and I'd never do it in the house just because I don't want to affect my family members or pets. There is a bit of a smell and some smoke and stuff, so I do that outside. So anyways, okay, so curl side up, okay. I'm going to turn it into a diamond shape, okay. I'm going to bring the top down to meet the bottom, okay. All right, so I have this upside down triangle, okay. And then I'm going to bring this corner down to meet the bottom, just like that. And the same thing on the other side, okay. Now there are different ways to fold this petal. The way I saw, so I did see Lori from Unique in the Creek do a tutorial on this. She was not using, I don't think she was using poly burlap. I think she was using more of a fabric mesh. We are going to kind of like stretch this a little bit because I don't want it to be too rounded, and I also don't want it to be really pointed, kind of somewhere in the middle. So I'm going to be sort of stretching this, and then I'm also only really overlapping it at the bottom. I'm kind of leaving it open right here, okay? And so then what I'm going to do is, for me, I'm measuring so that I'm making them all the same size, and I'm just going 2 inches from this tip is where I'm going to scrunch it. So that's about right here, and I go like this, and I have my petal, okay, and I can give this a little tug because I kind of want them all to be sort of uniform, and since it's poly burlap, it does sort of hold its shape. Hello, everyone who is joining us. Okay, so this is what our petal is going to look like. Now, I will say that when we put these into the zip ties, we have a little bit too much of this extra. It's going to affect the next row, so I am going to be clipping a bit of this off. And I'm turning to the side to do this over the garbage can so I don't make a huge mess, so you will not see me do this on camera. Okay, so just like this. Knocked over my glue gun. Okay. And then we're going to go ahead and put it into the zip tie. Just about a fingertip width in, and tighten that up. And there we go. We are going to use the same petal on all of our, for the whole thing, basically, except for the leaves, which I'm still on the fence about adding the leaves. If you've watched me before, I pretty much never put leaves on my flowers, but I think with this one we might want to since we have so much white. It's going to be a daisy. Okay, so I'll show the fold again. When I make the petals in advance, what do I put on to hold them? So I have this bag of, they're actually little hair ties, little hair bands, little tiny rubber bands. I would recommend clear, but I could only find black, and quite honestly, it's hidden by the zip tie anyways. So, but I just get these at the dollar store. I used to use these clips to hold them all together, but then you need a lot of clips. And honestly, if you want to store them somewhere until you use them, the clips are not like that good, I guess, because you got all these clips hanging off. So again, 10 by 10 poly burlap. You have your factory edges, your cut edges. So I'm turning it into a diamond. I'm bringing the top down to meet the bottom. Okay. And the nice thing about this petal, it's pretty forgiving, so if you're not like exactly lined up, it's okay, okay? Bring this corner down to meet the bottom, okay? And same thing on the other side, okay? I'm kind of giving this a little stretch right now. I'm going to sort of stretch it again after I gather, okay? But I'm only sort of meeting them at the bottom. I'm not doing a whole lot of overlap up here, okay? And then I'm just using my cutting mat to measure about 2 inches so that I'm grabbing it sort of in the same spot every time so that my petals are going to be sort of the same size, okay? And then I'm just giving that a little bit of a tug to sort of form it, and that poly burlap will hold its shape. So that's why I'm feeling good about, just kind of shaping it and giving it a little pull so that it's exactly the shape that I want, because it'll eventually sort of remember that shape and stay that way. Okay. And that goes into the zip tie. Okay. Hello, everyone who's joining. Thank you for joining me on this Friday. Okay. So there's our 2 petals in here. Okay. And we're going to continue on. So I'm going to start adding the preload, or just putting in the petals I've already made. I think I need to make a few more, but we will circle back to that as I know we'll have more people join who are going to ask to see the petal folds. So we'll just go back to that a little later. So a bunch of these pre-made, they're all just going to get loaded. We're on row 2, so there's 8 total petals on this row. So yes, I mean, heat seal, I use my wood burning tool. So I don't use there's like a impulse heat sealer. I don't use that. I use a wood burning tool. I believe the brand is, I think it's Walnut Hollow, I want to say is the brand. It's just like a $15 one I got off of Amazon, but I have noticed, I've seen it at the exact same brand at, I think Hobby Lobby, maybe Michael's too. It's pretty common. Mine just has an on-off switch. It doesn't have the different heat levels or whatever you want to call it. It's just an on-off switch, and I just used the tip that came on it. It did come with a couple of different attachments, but I don't use those. This piece has some kind of a weird little... Poly burlap is weird. It gets these weird... Oh, see? Like I had this weird little... I don't even know. This like weird piece stuck in there. But pulled that out, so now my petal looks good. Okay. You do get little flaws in the poly burlap. I think it just seems to be a little bit more noticeable when it's lighter colors. What color of white is that? It's white, just white. It's not cream, it's just plain old white. Okay, so we have our 8 petals on row 2. We have those done. Okay, now we're going to move on to row 3. I know it can be a little confusing because we're only doing our second row of petals, but it's row 3 labeled on the board. Okay, and I will go back and show the petal one more time. I think I'm going to have to make maybe 2 more petals, so I'll have to go back and do that anyways. Okay, and this is poly burlap, so one of the things, if you were going to be making this on your own, that you'd want to pay attention to if you're not using poly burlap, since poly burlap is a thicker type of mesh. I'm not really worried about anything being see-through. Of course, when you're working with white, that's always kind of the thing that you know, any kind of a light colored mesh or any like value mesh or anything like that, it could potentially be see-through, and you definitely don't want to see the board through your flower or anything like that. Whoops, I missed this. So if you're using, you know, fabric mesh, if you're using fabric mesh, what else? Deco mesh. You just want to, I think fabric mesh, you probably could get away with just doing this exact petal. Deco mesh, I think you'd probably have to be a little bit more careful. Maybe if it has like a wide stripe or like a white foil in it, maybe you'd be able to just use this like single layer, but you might actually have to double up the mesh in order to make your petals not too see-through with some of the more like value type of mesh. So as far as the boards to buy, so the board, at least the round Unique in the Creek boards come in small and large. So the small board, I think I want to say it's 12 inches. Let me see if I can measure it. I'm pretty sure it's 12 inches. Yes, it's 12 inches. And the large one, I actually have a large one here. How big is the large one? I probably should know, but I don't. It's like 15 inches. Really, you can do the same thing with either board. You have more space between the rows and a few more holes to work with on the large board. I have just done so many flowers on the small board that it's the one I'm more comfortable with. But you know, I know a lot of people do prefer the larger board. It really just depends, you know, how much material do you want to use? How big do you want your flower to be? I have found that most designs that are made on a large board can be adapted and made on the smaller board too. There is one style that I think I might make it this weekend, where it has kind of your classic petal all the way around the Dean Michael daisy petal, but then there's a big rosebud in the middle. Sorry, I was trying to read this comment before it went by too fast. So it has a big rosebud in the middle, which I think if you're doing a big rosebud as your center, the large board is better for that because you have more space. So that's actually, I'm trying to think, I think that's the only kind of flower I've actually ever made on the large board. For me, I'm always thinking ahead about things like shipping costs and how big is this going to end up being. I'm really, and maybe not, somewhat, maybe not popular among wreath makers. A lot of people think the bigger the better. I am more in the, like, if it's more than 24 inches, I think it's too big. That's where I sort of live. A standard door is 36 inches. If your wreath is like 30 inches across, you're not leaving people very much room on either side of their door for their wreath. Of course, there's exceptions to every rule and things like that. But for me, for amount of materials, shipping costs, I like to live sort of in the 24-inch range. And this wreath, let's see, from, well, you know, it would help if I did like a number that I don't feel like doing math right now. This one's going to be about, it's like coming out at about 19-ish inches right now. But I think, going to do some leaves. So it'll bring it out a little bit more. Okay, so now we are on row 4, and let's see, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 6 petals left. I actually need 8. So I'll go ahead and just make my 2 final petals for those of you that are just joining and didn't see me fold it in the beginning. Okay, so I have my 10 by 10 poly burlap that was cut with a wood burning tool. I do have my factory edges on the top and bottom and my cut edges on the side. I put this down curl side up. I'm just turning this into a diamond shape, and I'm bringing the top down to meet the bottom till I have a triangle. Okay. And then I'm just taking one corner here and bringing it down to the bottom, and the same on the other side. Okay. I'm really just joining these at the bottom. I'm not doing a whole lot of overlap. Okay. And I'm just going to sort of stretch this a little bit before I go ahead and grab it. I just want to stretch it a bit because I want to have them all sort of be a uniform shape, and that's what I've been doing, is kind of giving it a little stretch. And then about 2 inches from the bottom is where I'm grabbing it, just like that. Okay. And then I do need to clip off a bit of, well, I'm on the inside now. I really don't need to cut off the tail, but I'm just going to do it anyways because that's what I've done on all of them. So I'm just cutting off some of that extra. And I did that on the other layers because I didn't want the tail to get too close to where I had to put the next petal in the next row. Okay, so we're on row 4, and we are using the shared holes. So we're using each pair of holes as well as each set of holes in between the paired holes. Okay, so we'll do that one more time. Okay, so curl side up, turn it into a diamond, fold this into a triangle. Okay, bring this down to meet the bottom. Okay, same thing on the other side. Okay, give it a little, stretch this out a little bit. Okay, and then I'm grabbing it about 2 inches from the bottom, keeping all my petals about the same size. Okay, form that the way I want it. Okay, I'm going to clip off a little bit of this extra and put it into the zip tie. Now on this row, we are going to have more overlap than on the other rows. So the other rows, the petals were more spaced out. So there wasn't any, really, they're like almost, I mean, they're touching a little, but kind of barely touching. This, we're going to have overlap. So I just want to make sure they're laying the same, kind of the same direction. So I'm just going to have the one I'm putting in is just going to overlay the one next to it just by a little bit. Okay. And I do need all of these petals on the inside. You know, you only have 4 sets of, 4 pairs of holes, but I am going to use the shared holes. So I have 8 petals on the inside because I do need to make sure I'm covering all these spaces here between the petals in the previous row. Okay. Now, I did want to say this petal, I wish I could remember the name of it. I want to say it's the Gerber Daisy petal, but I'm not sure. You can you can do this petal in a lot of different ways. So you can actually fold it, you could kind of overfold it where you put one sort of over the other and get more of a point at the top. You could do that. You could also put it in the board like this so that you don't see the seam. I actually have a wreath at my shop right now that I did that. I did this exact fold. I just did more of a, where I folded it down the center, I did a lot more overlap. So while I'm talking about it, just to show you an example, this is just a garbage piece of mesh. But I always keep these in case I need to practice on anything. So basically what I did on that was I started the same way, but then I really so I still brought this in, but I brought it kind of more towards the center. The way I was doing it, I sort of just brought this down. I guess there's not that much of a difference. Nah, not really. Erase that. But then when I brought this down here, I kind of had them where they joined, like they were together more near the top, so it came to more of a point. Sort of how I did that. And then I still grabbed it, and then I actually put them all in the board like this. If you look at the, in my shop, my Etsy shop, it's the one with the purple, mint green, and pink with the glittery pink center. It's like a fabric mesh flower, but I did that, basically this exact petal, just sort of backwards in the board on that one. Okay. And if you do go to the shop, there's lots of spring wreaths in there, and I do have spring wreath kits available as well. So if you watched, I already forgot the last day I was live, maybe it was Sunday, I don't remember. But I did show an example of a completed wreath kit. Basically, my kits are not on the Unique in the Creek boards because I just simply don't have enough of them to put them out as kits. And I have a lot more of the wireframes, so that's what the kits are on. But I have one style where it's basically kind of this similar to this, where you have 3 layers of petals. You get to pick 3 different colors, and for the center, you get this little wooden cutout here, and you have the option of painting it either white or yellow. And your color options for your petals are pink, green, yellow, turquoise, or lavender. So I have that kit in the shop, sold a couple already. And I did today, just a little while ago, add one other kit for spring. So if you join me on my live when I made the rainbow pastel flower on the Unique in the Creek board, I already forgot what day that was. It wasn't that long ago. Last week, maybe it was over the weekend. I don't remember. The days are blending together. But anyways, I had a lot of people request a kit for that one. And so like I said, I don't have enough of the Unique in the Creek boards to be able to offer those in kits at the moment. Maybe at some point I'll figure out how I want to do my inventory differently and have more of those where I could put those in my kits. But I had a lot of people want to do the rainbow pastel flower and ask for a kit. And so I did come up with a kit for that one. So you actually get all 5 colors, and you get, we would still be using this center. But if you're interested in the rainbow pastel flower, and you like what I did last week, whatever day that was, check out the shop, because there are some kits in there for the pastel rainbow flower. All the best spring colors. Thank you for sharing, everybody. Okay, so I think, what do I want to do next? I would normally do the center and be done, but I'm gonna, let's check out these leaves. Okay, I don't know what I want to, I'm not sure if I want to do these. Listen, I will be 100% honest. I'm not into leaves or bugs on my flowers. Sorry, it's just me. I do very few that have leaves, and I do none that have bugs. No ladybugs, no bees. I don't do that. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just not me. I just don't do it. All right, so let me find, okay, here's the top of my board. And the reason I know that is because these 2 slightly Are they larger? I don't know that they're larger, but these are my 2 hanging holes. So that's the top of my flower. So I'm thinking now this is the way I do leaves if I do them, which again is not often, but I take my 10 by 10 poly burlap and I cut it in half, and then I do a pleat down the center with an iron. This is not something I have done on camera. I have to literally get out my ironing board to do this. I'm not going to drag that into my craft room, but perhaps at some point I will figure out how to do a quick video of how I do this leaf with this pleat down the center. But then what I do, I'll just make a leaf real quick and we'll figure out if we want to actually put it on here. So then I just open it back up. So here's where I've ironed. So I've kind of melted this middle part here. You can do it with hot glue too, but I always, if there's an option not to use hot glue, I usually choose that. And then what I do is I just turn it onto its side here, and then I just gather, and I usually start from the middle because I have that nice pleat there, and then gather here. And then there's my leaf. I like this leaf because it's pretty lifelike looking. I think my thing with leaves is I don't like when it's just like green blobs on the side of your flower. Whoops. So I'm very picky about the way they look if I do put them on. Okay, so there's a leaf. Let's see. If I add it on, a couple of them on, there's the top. I'm thinking maybe like here, like that. So I'd probably do two here and then like 2 down here. Let's just add them and see what happens. So let me put 1 here. Now I do usually see people, this might seem weird that I'm doing this after I put my petals on and now I have to work around them. I usually do see people put the leaves on last, mainly because you're working like in and your arm and your hand keeps touching the leaves and they end up getting frayed and stuff by the time you're done. So that's usually why people do the leaves last, even though you have all this mesh in the way. So there is a reason why it's being done in this particular order. So let's see, there's 1 there, and then let's put 1 here. So I'm I'm being a little bit random. I'll show you on the back when I'm done, but I'm gonna kind of put 2 in sort of the upper left. Whoops, that zip ties in backwards. And then 2 in the, no, it's not in backwards. Wait, is it? I think I got a bad one. It's not clicking. I'm not getting the good clicking noise. Seemed like that one was weird. Sorry if I'm missing any comments. I'm kind of looking at what I'm doing and not looking at the comments. Okay, so that's in. So again, this is just half of a 10 by 10 square, and then I use my iron to make the little pleat. Yeah, so the iron, yes, it 100% will melt the 2 pieces together. So that is why you only run the very edge of your iron right here. You only want to melt the very center to make this pleat. Okay. Yeah, I had someone on another video, I don't know if it was a video or a live, they might have watched the replay, but I said something about my mesh curling up and they suggested I iron it. I was like, that is not going to work because it'll just melt. You can't iron mesh. Now, if you have like deco mesh that's super curly or something that gets really like flattened, you can attempt to use maybe like a hair dryer to try to straighten it out a bit because the heat will help. But not an iron. The iron is for melting. And all I do is melt 1 little tiny bit. So here's the top. So I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna put 2 kind of down here. So they're gonna be sort of like opposite each other. I know I'm a little off out of camera view. So let's see here. I'm gonna do 1. So I'm gonna just go diagonal from the one that I have done. I'm gonna go right here. Yes, I do use parchment paper. So, yep. Because you don't want to put the iron directly on the mesh. Exactly. I sort of left that out. It's just plain white. not cream or anything like that. It is just white poly burlap, and the green that I'm using is the lime green. You would think by it being called lime green, it would be like really, really bright green, but it's a pretty normal green. So yeah, so when I do this, so basically, like, let's say, take my piece of mesh again. So I have my 10 by 10, and then what I do is I take my straight edge here, and you don't have to wood burn when you cut these in half to make your leaves. So I just use my rotary cutter, cut that in half, okay? And then what I do is I take, oh, I don't have my parchment paper in here. Oh, well, here's a, hold on. This is a old piece I threw out because I have some little melty little stuff stuck on this, so I threw this one out. But what I do then is, here's my parchment paper, and I take my, when I'm making my leaf, and I fold this in half, okay? And then I put this into the parchment paper like that, okay? And then I take my iron, and it's just like run it along the very edge, just with the very tip or the very edge of the iron, because you don't want to go too far in because it's going to just melt. And then it's sort of what happens is the mesh gets a little darker where it's melting, and then you take it back out and open it up, and so you take it out and it looks like this, and you open it up and it looks like this. So yeah, that's how I do that. All right, so did I have my zip tie? I already lost track. Yes, my zip tie's in there. So yeah, use parchment paper, both under, kind of put it into that little pocket of parchment paper, if you will. It goes like on top of parchment paper, and then the parchment paper covers it. So it's, my ironing board is, and the mesh is protected in sort of two places. Okay. And it's not tight enough. All right, so there's that one. And we'll add one more zip tie. Yeah, yeah, Tammy, if you, so I don't have, where did that zip tie just go? It must have flew somewhere, or is it stuck in the, oh, no, it's on the floor. If you, I don't have a video of the ironing pleated petal thing, but if you go to, go to Unique in the Creek on YouTube, Lori has a, video of, I believe she either calls it a veined petal or pleated petal, but she's got a tutorial on there that shows you how to do it with the iron. I did see someone do this with hot glue before, where actually it was a full petal, not a half of a piece. It was a full petal, and what they did is they just sort of lined this inside with hot glue and then sort of like went like that, and that works. I've done it, but again, I always worry with hot glue that I think it'll eventually be like come unstuck, especially if it's hot out, start to kind of melt and it'll lose its shape. I really don't think anything's going to happen to this though. I mean, it's kind of sort of permanently in there. It's like melted that way. There's no way that it's going to become unmelted, I guess. Whereas the hot glue could definitely become unmelted, and the petal might not hold its shape after that point. Okay. All right. So I think the leaves are good because they break up some of that white. Okay. So that's what we have for our leaves. So they're kind of, I have basically, these two are straight across from each other. I don't even know if you can see what I'm doing. I have two that are straight across from each other, and then I have two that are sort of diagonal from each other. Okay, so if you look at the back, here's the top of my board again. So I have them kind of directly at, what is that, 3 and 9. And then I skipped a hole and went up to this one. And then for this one, I skipped a hole and went down to that one. So that's where I placed them. And then finally, I'm going to put in my felt center. So this is, again, I made this out of 2, was it 2 or was it 3? I already forgot. 9 by 12 pieces of felt that you get at any craft store. I do have a tutorial on YouTube. I did also learn this from Lori, but it's a fringed flower. It's pretty simple to put together and very inexpensive. And this one happens to go great with my daisy, since daisies have a nice yellow center. So we're going to go ahead and add that. So I'm just going through 2 holes that are sort of opposite each other in the center here and pulling that tight, and then just giving this a couple of twists. And then I'm just going to sort of feed these back through the holes, maybe. Or I can just feed them under the zip ties as well, whatever works, okay? And give that, there we go. So there's our daisy. And, you know, some of these petals, if you kind of feel like that one looks a little, this one looks a little blobby, but like I said, the poly burlap will hold its shape. So you can kind of give them a little pull and a little tuck again, you know, and that should help with any petals that you don't like the shape of. Okay. So there's your daisy. And then the last thing I would do, which I realize I've never done on camera, but I'll go back into my 2 hanging holes and add, I have this massive thing of twine that I will use, or I have fish line that I use as well. But one of those will get put on the back so that you have some way to hang this. Okay. So there's my daisy. So quick project. So be sure to check out, if you haven't been on my Etsy shop lately, go ahead and check that out. As I mentioned, in case you didn't hear or you joined late, I did add in some kits for spring. So there's actually 2 options now. So if you enjoyed watching the video last week of the rainbow pastel flower, I did come up with a kit for that one. It's not exactly what I showed on my live, but it's pretty close, and it actually incorporates all 5 colors that I have available. So check that out. I have also lots of ready-made kits, or sorry, ready-made wreaths that you don't have to make yourself in my shop as well. So those always make great gifts. And, you know, we have a new season coming up, so perfect time to get something new for your door. And again, check out my YouTube tutorial on making the fringed felt center. I also have a tutorial for making the burlap little rosette that we used. If you saw the rainbow pastel flower, I put one of those in the center. So I have 2 videos that show you how to make centers on your own that are very inexpensive and pretty simple to do. And other tutorials, there's a couple other things on there that aren't on Facebook. So be sure to go and check that out and subscribe. Again, for materials, go to my pinned post on my Facebook page. You can see the link to Unique in the Creek, which will allow you to buy the small, if you want the small board or you want the large board, but that's where this is from, Unique in the Creek. So I have an affiliate link for that pinned on the top of my Facebook page. They also have lots of different mesh and other materials. So if you're looking for really anything for wreath making, you can find that there. I also have an affiliate link for Mel's Crafty Mojo. They sell lots of great mesh and other tools as well. The center is felt. Can you use deco mesh? Yep, so I did cover that a little bit earlier, but if you joined late. So yes, this is poly burlap. You can certainly try to use fabric or deco mesh for this, but just keep in mind if it's white, it could potentially be see-through. You might need to double up the amount of materials so that you don't see the board through. My Etsy shop is called Carrie's Wreath Co. So my name, Carries, the word wreath, and then CO. Carrie's Wreath Creations was too many characters for my Etsy shop, so that's why they don't match. Did not know that when I came up with my business name and started my my Facebook page. But yeah, if you go to my Facebook page and you click shop on website, it takes you directly to my Etsy shop. Okay, and basically all the posts that I do where I show products, there's a link to my Etsy shop in the comments. Okay, thanks for watching, everybody. I appreciate it. Please, again, feel free to check out my YouTube for other tutorials and subscribe there. You'll see some things that are on there that are not on Facebook. Check out the Etsy shop for kits and completed wreaths. Thanks again. Have a great Friday, everybody, and take care. Bye.